So let me begin, please, by thanking Edward and Bertil for very interesting and also very confident and positive presentations. And not just for the presentations, but also for taking the time to be with us today. What I'd like to do this afternoon is to provide an overview of the current market status and to share with you the way that we see the market development over the near term. I'd like to begin by looking at the recent progress and growth, and the best way to do this is in terms of the series production. That's how we look at it operationally inside of the company. And when we were here 2 years ago at the AGM in 2006, we were running at an annualized production rate of approximately 350,000 engine equivalents per year. 12 months later, at the last AGM, that had increased by 21%. And over the past year, it's increased a further 53% to a current rate of approximately 650,000 engine equivalents. And the growth comes from different areas. It comes from the programs that were in production for the past years, continuing to ramp up, but also from the new programs that have started since the last AGM. And this is particularly in the commercial vehicle sector. We've had 9 new SinterCast CGI components starting production in the last 9 months. And from the current base of 650,000 engine equivalents, we forecast that when all of those programs grow to their full volume, we'll have approximately 1.2 million engine equivalents per year. We can also look at how the current production is in terms of the overall market penetration. When we break down our 650,000 engine equivalents, approximately 400,000 are in V-diesels, and if the total global V-diesel market is about 7 million engine equivalents per year, this gives us a penetration of approximately 13%. And likewise, in the commercial vehicle sector, our production is ramped from nothing 1 year ago to about 200,000 engine equivalents per year currently. And for a total market of around 7.5 million, that gives us a penetration rate of about 2.5%. And we can look at this penetration in 2 different ways. First of all, in terms of absolute numbers, 400,000 V-diesels and 200,000 commercial vehicles. This is a high volume production. It provides a credible reference for CGI and also for the SinterCast technology. When we look at it in terms of percentage, what it shows is that there's a lot of market available for SinterCast to grow into. We have a lot of growth ahead of us by staying in our comfort zone, which is providing process control for V-diesels and commercial vehicle cylinder blocks and heads. If that's the current state of the market, we can also look forward and see how we expect the market to develop. First of all, with regard to V-diesels, currently in Europe, we're producing approximately 400,000 per year, and we estimate that that's about 70% penetration of the European market. Yeah? So it isn't saturation at all. There will be new programs in the European market and will continue to ramp up. But the bulk of the growth will come in North America. And in North America, there are currently about 500,000 V-diesels produced every year. And the vast, vast majority of these are greater than 6 liters in size. And what we can see in this overhead is a summary of diesel penetration forecasts from independent companies in North America. And the comforting thing in this overhead is that the volumes are very consistent from the different predictions. And you can see that we expect to grow from the current 500,000 per year to approximately 1.5 million per year by 2012. And again, the majority of this production will be in large vehicles, pickup trucks and SUVs. Because these vehicles have the highest fuel consumption, they're the ones that will benefit most from the improved fuel economy of diesel. And they're also the vehicles that will be most able to pay back the investment, the higher purchase price for the diesel engines. When we look at pickup trucks and SUVs, we'll have an average engine size of between 4 and 5 liters. So we can calculate that the engine blocks will be approximately 100 kilograms each. So these extra 1 million engine equivalents that the market will grow into should provide around 2 million engine equivalents per year. But it's not just those extra 1 million that are our targets. Our target is also to upgrade the existing 500,000 per year. And every 3 or 4 years, those engines are renewed and they have a power up. And with each renewal opportunity, there's a chance for CGI to be incorporated in the new design. So we see a real growth opportunity in North America. And some of our shareholders will have seen reports in the media or OEM announcements about new V-diesel programs in North America. And some of the OEM announcements have even referred to compacted graphite iron cylinder blocks. And although we can't yet discuss any specific details of any of those programs, we can confirm that SinterCast is involved in those North American V-diesel programs. We can also look at the market development on the commercial vehicle side, and commercial vehicles will grow in 3 different ways. Those 9 new programs that have been introduced since the last AGM, they're all quite young and they have a lot of growth in front of them. So we'll grow just by continuing the production of those programs. We'll also grow and benefit from the general trend in the industry, which is toward downsizing, trying to make the engine smaller, but increasing the loading to get the same performance. And on this sector, we're working together with the OEMs, we're working together with the foundries, and also with the engine design houses to participate and support the development. And the third opportunity for growth is just the overall growth of the market, particularly in Eastern Europe and in Asia. And we're supporting that market by increased sales presence, and most recently, as you've seen, the opening of our new office in China. The Asian market will take a little bit longer because generally trucks today in Asia are 2 generations behind trucks in Europe in terms of technology. But when it comes, it will come quickly because the Asians don't have to develop new technology. That technology is already established here in the West. So it's more of a technology transfer than it is a development. So we see a very rapid potential development for CGI in commercial vehicles in Asia. And now is the time for us to be there so that we can establish ourselves as a CGI partner to that industry. We can also view the market development in terms of what we call other components. And so this is in the industrial power sector or in the automotive sector for parts other than cylinder blocks and heads. The industrial power sector has been a very good contributor for us. It's currently running just over 50,000 engine equivalents per year. And we do have some development programs, and we do expect new production commitments. But this isn't a focus segment for us. It's more of a contributor. Within the automotive sector, we have potential contribution from, as I say, parts other than blocks and heads, which would be, as shown in the picture, clutch components or exhaust components like exhaust manifolds and turbocharger housings, or as Edward mentioned and as we issued in our Componente Ductage press release last month, these torsion dampers. And all of these programs are relatively lightweight, but they're also high volume. So they have a very interesting contribution in terms of engine equivalence. And the other interesting thing about these components is that as small parts, they're not made in engine block foundries. So generally, all of these productions provide opportunities for new installations outside the core cylinder block and head sector. And generally, a lot of those installations will be in the so-called best cost countries, which is again an opportunity for expansion into Eastern Europe and Asia. I'd like also to talk about our confidence, and I think that the best way of demonstrating the confidence in the development is the capitalization of 75 million crowns of our unused tax assets last quarter. And we've done this on the basis of those 650,000 engine equivalents growing to 1.2 million on the overall market development that we see in front of us. And if we look at that market primarily in terms of V-diesels and commercial vehicles, we see that the total market for 2007 was around 10 million engine equivalents, and the total global market for these two sectors should grow to around 17 million equivalents by 2012. And this is slightly reduced from the numbers that we gave at the AGM last year. And the reason for that is that we have new CO2 legislation coming in Europe and new corporate average fuel economy legislation coming in North America. So there will be a general trend toward people using smaller vehicles and smaller engines. but still the reduction has been less than 10%, and it's still a very large market for us to grow into. We speak of our overall development pool of approximately 5.5 million engine equivalents, and if we take away 10% of that for this non-block and head market, that leaves us with 5 million, and the 5 million out of 17 million provides a penetration rate of about 30%. So we have a very substantial potential increase from our current penetration to that future penetration. And if we break down the 5.5 million engine equivalents, as I said, currently we expect our series production activities to ramp up to around 1.2 million. We have approximately 1.1 million worth of mature engine equivalents currently on order, so approved by the OEMs and orders placed with SinterCast foundries. And then we have a further 3.2 million, which we classify as in the development category. Yeah? And this combined number, this 2.3 million, this is the number that we used for the basis of the tax loss calculation. And as we said in that press release, we haven't included all of the programs in that calculation. We've used some probability safety factor. And so what you can understand from that is that there are programs in that 3.2 million engine equivalent development category that are already approved and assigned to SinterCast foundries. And so what we can say is that there are at least 2.3 million engine equivalents already approved and allocated to SinterCast foundries. I'd like to take a moment to discuss our environmental contribution as well. I made a presentation in Stockholm a couple of months ago, and I was either misinterpreted or misrepresented in the media, where they said that SinterCast was promoting gas guzzlers, and that's not at all true. In fact, we're not promoting any type of vehicle. We are promoting diesel engines because we believe that diesel engines are the best combination in terms of fuel efficiency, in terms of cost, in terms of environmental performance, and also in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of fueling stations out on the roads. So we do see diesel as the primary path forward. But we're not promoting any type of vehicle. We're simply living in a real world where we acknowledge that there will be a mix of vehicles and that some of those will be large and that people will continue to buy large vehicles. As people have more disposable income, they tend to buy larger and more luxurious toys, and that works also for vehicles. If we look here in Sweden, there were 307,000 new vehicles sold last year, and 11.5% of those were equipped with flex fuel options. There's obviously a motivation and an attempt here in the home market to contribute to the environment. We can have another discussion entirely if biofuels are good for the environment. But people are certainly trying to do that, or otherwise just trying to take tax incentives and avoid parking fees. But for SinterCast, we believe very much that the diesel is a better option than biofuel. And what we see if we compare some SinterCast engines to the nearest available petrol option, for Jaguar, for Audi, and for Land Rover, you can see our diesel engine compared to the nearest petrol engine. We have higher torque in all cases, so better drivability and more fun to drive. But we also have lower fuel economy. And in those three examples, approximately 50 grams per kilometer lower CO2 for Jaguar, approximately 40 grams per kilometer lower for the Audi option, and about 75 for the Land Rover. And this is a very significant contribution to CO2 reduction. Yeah? It's a contribution that our shareholders and our company can be proud of. And as I say, whereas here in Sweden we sold 11.5% of biofuel cars last year, more than 40% of cars were estate cars or SUVs. So there is definitely a move towards larger vehicles, both here in Europe and in Asia. And as people drive larger vehicles, we can help to make them cleaner. And that's something that we can be proud of. So in closing, I'd like to look at our outlook for 2008. And the business plan for any company depends on what the company can do technically and where the company is in its development cycle. And what we can do technically is now very clear. and it's also clear that it's accepted and valued in the industry. And where we are in the development cycle is that we've come to a point where we have a near zero cash flow burn rate, and we have growth in front of us, whether it is the 650,000 becoming 1.2 million, or the more than 1.1 million on order, or just the general growth in the industry. And when we take all of these things into consideration, what we know is that we're going to get busier. And so the focus for SinterCast in 2008 is to grow the company, to bring on board resources and have them ready for when the production begins next year. And also, I think very important for our company to establish itself as the leading CGI player in Asia. And as we bring on these resources, we'll of course increase our expense level, but despite that we will increase the expense level, we still target a full year neutral cash flow result also for 2008. And the cash flow result will depend again this year on installations, the number of installations, and when they're made, and beyond that, when we get paid for them. But even in the presence of the increased operating cost, we still have a target for neutral cash flow result. But that target isn't our priority. Our priority for 2008 is to grow and expand the company. And that will be our focus for the next 12 months until the next AGM. Thank you.